So, Sebastian, today I'd like to talk to you about the importance of realism,
Okay.
specifically the importance about realistic assessment of where we are and where we can expect to go. Uh, this is not only mentioned by me, but by other authors as well. For example, Ray Dalio, the hedge fund manager, in his book Principles, he writes that there are three important components of a successful life. So there's one, reality, there is two, determination, and three, dream. So a lot of people, I feel, know that a dream is important to have, and then the determination to pursue that dream. But I feel a lot of people are lacking a realistic assessment of who they are, what their strengths and weaknesses are, and where they can realistically expect to go. And that has many downsides, and there are many benefits to know realistically on who you are and where you're going to go, where you're most likely going to go. And not having this realism has a lot of downsides. So the question then becomes, how can we be more realistic? And I think it would be helpful if we were to look at if that's true, if realism is important, and if we were to analyze from our own experience and from the experience of our friends, if we can come up with examples where we see that where there's not enough realism, and realism would be helpful.
Okay.
What do you say?
Sure. Interesting. But one of the first examples that comes to mind is entrepreneurs, startup builders who have an idea that is not necessarily a good one, and a lot of other people can see it, but they cannot see it.
Mm-hmm.
So there's not much potential behind the idea, but maybe the person loves the dream of having a startup or being an entrepreneur or whatever, and they just kind of take any idea they could find in 5 minutes, and then they go into the process of going to the conferences, applying for funding, and all of the busy work that you can get into, but there's no substance to the idea, and that's what I see a lot.
Yes, I agree. I agree. I've seen this many times. I mean, we're both entrepreneurs, so I'm sure we've seen both of these many times. And if you, for example, look at a show like Dragon's Den, where you can see a lot of entrepreneurs, you can see again a lot of entrepreneurs who in many cases have pursued their idea for many years and with a lot of passion and determination. So they had a dream and they had determination, but they lacked the realism. They lacked the realism of realizing the feedback that they were getting from customers, from other people looking at the idea, giving them negative feedback. They should have realized, look, this is not going to go anywhere. I'm going to quit. But instead, they just pursued their dream with determination. So that's, I think, is a very good example. Another example I've recently seen more than once in my female friends, a lot of who are very career oriented and are approaching their 30s, is that they're telling me, look, I am approaching my 30s. My dream in life is to have a family, but right now I want to focus on my career, and it's not going to be a problem because I still feel young and there's still time to have a family. And so I'm saying, well, look at the fertility statistics. Look at the probability of becoming pregnant as you are approaching 40 or beyond. It's not that easy. And even though they can look at the statistics, somehow they don't accept that reality for themselves. Another
Mm-hmm.
example where they're kind of denying reality and still pursuing their dreams and living their dream of thinking that in the future there will be a mom, even though realistically they either have to take action right away or it's not going to happen.
Okay, but do you think that it might be also a conflict within their subconscious mind? So on one hand, maybe they want to become a mom. Maybe there's a lot of social pressure for that. On the other hand, they like their freedom, they like their career, they like their life. They don't want to be trapped in a situation that might be not good for them because they might hate it. and they are aware of that as well. So maybe there's a conflict within, and the way they deal with it is they claim that they want it and they will have it later, but actually they stick to what's familiar, safe, and guaranteed to not enslave them. What do you think about
Maybe. So I would say my personal opinion is that they know that being a mother would make them happy, and I do expect that to make them happy. And what I've seen is that people that with 40 still become mothers, that generally being a mother makes them happier, even though they have to put the career into second place. What I think might be true is that they have to make major decisions in order to become a mom. I mean, they have to say, okay, now I'm going to focus on finding a husband. I'm going to focus on an alternative to becoming a mother, to become pregnant. And that's a major decision.
that?
And the easier way is just to not do anything, just hope and continue the career. And that therefore, since that's the easy decision, they're then justifying that in the future, it still might be possible, or it's probably going to be possible because they feel young, even though they can maybe see realistically that it's less and less likely. But I do believe that they actually do believe this. It's not that they're only saying this. These people, be it the entrepreneur that gets a lot of negative feedback, and the whole world is saying this is not going to work out, or the potential future mom who wants to become pregnant is approaching her 40s, still thinking, well, it's going to work out. I just need to find the right guy. Um, I do think that they really believe that this is possible, but I think it's hurting them that they don't see the reality, and I do think that's because they see the dream, so they have the dream and the determination. They see very clearly the dream, and that seeing the dream makes it even more real to them. That this is still the future reality, even though if they don't do a major change, it's not.
And how about the fact that maybe they don't like to be pushed by biology, literally, to make those choices immediately? And they would like to have more time and they would like it to be longer, and they subconsciously reject the fact that the nature makes them do this now or never kind of thing, right? Like it's a bad spot to be in when you have to make that decision immediately
Yeah,
or never,
of course, of course. But I
there's some
think,
resistance to that.
but that is facing the truth.
Yeah.
Facing the truth, knowing, look, there is a biological clock. I don't like it, but that's life. So I have to make a tough decision. Yes, I'm going to give up my career. I'm going to spend all my time looking for my future husband, and I'm going to um, take some major decision to become pregnant, or I'm not going to be mother. It's a tough choice, but and it's not comfortable. But and the same for the entrepreneur. It's a tough choice to realize that you worked for 3 years on a company that is not working out, and you probably have to move on and do something totally different. You lost a lot of money. It's really tough to realize that. But it's better to realize it now than just go on, because you still can take decisions for the better.
Mhm.
Um, Maybe we can take a look about some other examples. I mean, do you know any other examples where it's apparent that a person, for whatever reason, is not facing up to the
Mhm.
reality?
Yeah, I think health is a big category. It's like,
Hmm.
oh, I'm not that fat. I don't eat fast food 3 times a day. It's just 2 times a day, you know. I
Exactly.
don't drink over 2 liters of Coke per day, just one and a half, you know. Or I don't
Exactly.
smoke three, I don't know, packages of cigarettes per day, just two, and all of that. So I think it's very easy to rationalize, especially if you're surrounded by people who have a bit worse habits. And what you're surrounded by as well is a lot of people who have exactly the same habits as you. So then you are just normal. Everyone is doing it. So what's wrong with that, right? Nothing can be wrong.
I totally agree. I think that's a good example. Health. A lot of people are somehow rationalizing why the health is not so bad as it really is. I'd say another one related to that is attractiveness, and related to that, age. I see a lot of people, um, especially women who are past, let's say, 35, the prime age, and they still feel somehow attractive, and they somehow realize that men do not seem to treat them in the same way they were treating them 10 years ago. And but if they go on Tinder, on the dating app, and they still only go for the most hard looking guys, and for 90%, 95% of the guys just swipe left, 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 thinking that they deserve somebody who is top guy, very attractive guy, while they don't really match that attractiveness.
Hmm. But that's a scenario where you can get a very quick reality check
It's
because,
true to some extent. To some extent, it's true, and I think that a lot of people don't like this reality check that Tinder gives them. You know, the reality check is you only go for the hard looking girls or guys, and you think that, well, those are the girls or guys that you deserve because you're so attractive, and then you see you don't get any results. So you should think, well, maybe I'm not that attractive. But a lot of people, you can take a look online. You can see a lot of videos on YouTube saying Tinder has a bug. It's not giving me any matches. There must be a bug. It's not working out. They don't, they think Tinder has a bug because they're not getting any matches. So they're not prepared to decrease their opinion on their own attractiveness.
yeah, there is some research that claims that, I don't know, 80% of drivers claim to be above average or
Mm.
something. So we do have a tendency, it's a natural, I think, cognitive bias to see ourselves in a good light. On the other hand, Brian Tracy would tell that repeating words like "I like myself" or something like empowering words that build self-esteem and confidence is good for you. Because if you believe that you can and you're worthy and you're good, then you will go and do things. And part of the attractiveness is actually confidence. And if you believe that you're ugly and no one wants you, you will not be
Mm.
confident. So it's a tricky question, right?
Okay. I mean, I think that's true. I would agree with Brian Tracy that there are some um, advantages of being unrealistically optimistic or unrealistically over evaluate your own skills, your own attractiveness. Be overly confident. It's good. Confidence is always good. On the other hand, in many cases, it's also important to be realistic and know where you really stand. I would say another example that I've observed a lot is that people are saying they think they have a good social life, a very rich social life. But then when you really look at the situation, for many people, you find that they don't have that many true friends and that they're not spending a lot of time with these true friends.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, you would go to them and ask, so who are your true friends? Who are the friends that really care about you when you are down? They really want to help you. They really feel bad. And and a lot of people would say, look, well, I have a lot of friends. I get along well. We can have a good time. But do I really have these friends who really care about me deeply? And then and sometimes people would say yes, they have these friends, but they only then you ask them how much time do they spend with these friends, how much time on the phone do they spend, or person to person, and then they count and they're like maybe 2 hours per year, 3 hours per year, and then you add this up on a lifetime and you say maybe you would spend 60 hours in your whole life with that person. Is that really, I mean, can you really say that this is a rich social life because you have these friends with whom you're spending 60 hours in your life?
Mm-hmm.
So that's another area where I feel people are not realistic about the quality of their social life.
Okay, but I think there are different things here because on one hand, like maybe there's a social pressure to have an amazing social life, just to like because you're so amazing, so you have so many friends and all that. But many people might not have the need to spend that much time with others, for example, introverted people. and they are just fine in their social life the way it is because they don't complain about it and they don't feel the need to have more interactions with people, for example. And they are just satisfied with having maybe not a glamorous social life that is nicely looking on social media, but the one that kind of works for them, whatever that means, right? Because there's one thing is what the society wants you to have, and the other thing is what you actually need. And there might be a dissonance between those two things, right?
Okay, of course, I would agree. A social life is not defined by how many friends and you have and how much these friends care about you, meaning how much quality these relationships have, but it's defined by how satisfied you are by the social life. But I do think, looking at myself, for example, that I would say, well, yeah, I mean, I that I have a good social life because I have 500 followers on Instagram or 500 friends on Facebook and 7,000 contacts on LinkedIn. And a lot of people like me there. And so that's a great social life. But when I really make this analysis of who are my true friends that I care about and they care about me, I come up with like 10 people,
Mhm,
and like including my family.
mhm,
And then I write down how much time do I spend with them? And it's actually quite surprisingly little time that I spend with them.
mhm,
So, and then I think, well, do I really feel happy about the situation? And I feel maybe not so happy. No, I would like to spend more quality time with my contacts, but I it's only apparent when I do this analysis. If somebody
mhm.
asks me, do you have a great social life? I'm like, yeah, I'm a social person. Sure, I have a great social life, but it's not true.
Yeah, it's interesting that it helps to have certain rituals in social life or with friends or in relationships even. Like some couples have a date every week, even if they live together or something, just to reconnect. And with friends as well. I think having, for example, a call that happens every week or every 2 weeks with a friend that lives maybe far, but you are close intellectually or something, can be a great ritual to, you know, maintain the relationship. And having that versus not having that means having so much more contact versus not having that contact. And it can mean a lot in terms of quality of life. So I think it's important here to talk about rituals that help.
I totally agree. And a good example is this call. I
Yeah.
mean, from taking away my dad and my sister, taking away the people I work with, if I only talk about my friends, then I have to unfortunately admit that the most amount of time I'm spending with you because I
Hmm.
have a bi-weekly call with you. With other people, I don't have this ritual, so I might call them once a month or once a year, even though I would consider them good friends.
So that's a smart tactic, I think. Like I implemented that in my life and it works like magic. And it's really good to allow some time to pass between the calls, exactly like 2 weeks or a week, depends on like with whom or whatever. But then you have enough to speak about also, and maybe there are some
Mhm.
changes in your life, saying that it's not too much, it's not too little, it's the exact right amount. Yeah.
I,
So
I, I tried to do this once, exactly like you said. Um, I thought, okay, so I need to classify my friends, and so I have like 600 people in my contact list, and from those I would consider about 100 people are my friends, and then I classified them from 1 to 5, and most people were 5, second most were 4, 1 and 2 were like really few, and then I thought, okay, so if it's 1 or 2, I need to call them and say if it's 1, I need to call them at least once a week. If it's 2, at least once a month. If it's 3, at least like every 2 months. And I
mhm,
put this into my Google Calendar. I said, okay, today you should call this person. Because I wanted to make sure that on the other hand, I don't waste time, too much time, on being in touch with this 100 people. Because that's, it can take really a lot of time. On the other hand, I wanted to make sure that I do stay in touch with these people.
mhm,
And, but it didn't work out. Because It's just too much because I just don't have the time. I just don't have the time to stay in touch with all these people. So at the end of the day, I just don't remain in touch with these people. And I guess they have the same problem because a lot of these people, I would say, look, these are great people. They really like me. They want to have connection with me, but they have the same problem. They're also, they have the, they're during the day they work and work and work, and then they just don't have the time to reconnect with me.
I think there is a solution for that, and I'm using it with one of my friends, which is basically WhatsApp audio recorded messages. So
Okay.
you can record it while you're cooking, and you have an idea that like you would like to share with this person because you know they will find it interesting. So you just record a 2 minute message or so, and then the person will listen to it whenever they have some time. They're on the bus or whatever, and then
Hmm.
they will record you something when they want to share something that happened in their life or this or that, or share some resource like some link or some book or whatever. So that helps to do this asynchronous communication style so that you don't have to interrupt them, they don't have to interrupt you. It doesn't have to be an hour, it can be a short little message here and there. Whenever you have time, whenever you feel like it, you don't have to respond immediately, there's no urgency there. So I found
Hmm.
it
Okay.
very.
I guess it depends on kind of how you deal with social media, because I noticed that if this was the way to happen to me, I would respond immediately, or
Mhm,
almost immediately, in the same day at least, and I would feel bad if the person would not respond to me within the same day. So, and what I've noticed is that with some friends, once we reconnect, we stay in touch for like 2 days, and we're
mhm,
connecting. We're communicating via WhatsApp, and it takes like 2 days. Then there's a break, and then we don't reconnect for like 2 months. Then
mhm,
we reconnect again, and then again for maybe 3 days. We talk and talk and talk. Then there's a break, and again we don't reconnect for a really long time. So I do have a feeling that the solution of making sure you reconnect with your friends on a basis, and probably it shouldn't be only one person who puts it into his Google Calendar like I did, but probably it should be just both people agreeing. Look, let's just reconnect. Let's just make sure we connect every once in a while, and then put both of them put them into they kind of schedule a meeting. I think that's probably makes a lot of sense. Okay, so this was about friendship, social life, where I feel a lot of people are not realistic about their their social life, thinking that they have a lot of people they're spending quality time with, that care about them deeply, but in fact they either don't have that many people that they care about deeply, or and they don't spend enough time with these people. Let's see where else we have this realism gap. I have observed it in the work. Uh, let me explain. So, as an entrepreneur, a lot of people, a lot of my friends are also entrepreneurs, and they think they're all workaholics. Generally, they think they're all working that much. Oh yeah, I'm an entrepreneur. I have to work 80 hours a week. Now, I have been to several accelerators where I've been working with other entrepreneurs for like 3 months. So I spend a lot of time working with a lot of other entrepreneurs. And generally, it's always me who arrives first in the morning, who works in the most focused way, who leaves the offices at night as the last person, and who is the only person who works on the weekend. And still, what I write down net work, so excluding all the other kind of social activities, excluding going to the bathroom, eating lunch, and so on, the net work is like 40 hours,
mhm,
maybe 45. And so for me, everyone who's working less than me is just lazy. So I don't buy that these people are really workaholics. I think people are generally thinking that they work much more than they in fact do work. I think most people, when you will look at the work that they're doing, and not being in the office, just
mhm,
the work they're really doing, I would say it's probably 30 hours or 25 hours per week.
For sure. I think we are very delusional about how we spend our time, how much we spend on social media, and how much we spend on actual work versus also how much we eat, for example. There's this fascinating show in Britain called Secret Eaters, and there's like I don't know, a family of really fat people, and they say like, "Oh, we eat healthy, and we have no idea why we're fat." and
Mm,
then they have like detectives follow them 24/7 and like cameras in their rooms and everything, and
that's
then
a good
it comes
one.
out they eat like 6,000 calories per day and such. So it's fascinating how in denial we are about things unless we track things, and I think that's one of the things.
Exactly. 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 Unless we track things. So that's one of the. Let's go to the next step, which is how we can get a realistic assessment. So one way, as you say, is tracking. So we talked about that in many different areas, there's a gap, a realism gap, where we think we're much better and our future is going to be much brighter than we really are, and then the future is really going to be. And that this is a problem, that many times we should be more realistic about where we really stand, be it in terms of health, be it in terms of our finances, our success, be it in terms of the health that we have, of the way we eat, and so on. And one way to do this is to get data, realistic data. So one way is to track yourself. Okay. So one example of tracking, you mentioned it, is tracking what you eat, writing down the calories, and then making an analysis. Is that what I eat really healthy, or is it not? Because many people would just eat, and they see, oh well, I'm eating this vegetable. Oh yeah, I'm eating one apple a day, so I should be eating healthy. But when you really analyze what they're eating, it's not, and they're eating far too much. Um, let's see if there are other areas where we can do the same kind of tracking.
I think tracking time is very important,
Hmm.
and there are some automated ways to do it. I would even think without like it's like tracking without tracking. Like if I go to a co-working space, for example,
Hmm.
and obviously I don't do anything else but work during the time that I'm there,
Hmm.
then I can count the entire time that I'm there as work
Hmm.
because I was just sitting and doing my work. So that's an easy way to do that. So by changing environment, you might immediately, or if you prepare a lunch and take it with you to work, you will be eating exactly what you took from home. So you will be eating, for example, healthy if you cooked a healthy lunch. So there
Okay.
are some ways to automate that, but there are also some apps probably and all kinds of techniques, right? What do you
Okay. So one way you said is to get more control, so that you know that what you want is actually what you get, because you're controlling it. Then you said tracking, and I would say there's one more way, which is comes from cognitive behavioral therapy. And cognitive behavioral therapy is the deals with how to prevent depression, or how to cure depression. And it's assuming that underlying a depression are negative thoughts, and that these negative thoughts come from unrealistic, negative evaluation of who we are and what our future is going to be. And so, cognitive behavioral therapy is using techniques to make the person realize that, in fact, he's not as bad as he thinks he is, and his future is not as bad as he thinks it's going to be.
think?
Now, what I'm saying is that most people are, in fact, too optimistic about where they stand and what the future is going to be. They all think going to be a super successful in the future. They're going to be super healthy in the future. They're going to have a wonderful family. They're going to have all the time to do all these great things, learn all these new languages, get all these new skills, when this is not true, and they should be more realistic. And so, what I'm saying is that you can use the same kind of techniques that cognitive behavioral therapy is teaching us to be more realistic, in order to have a more positive evaluation, being more realistic. And you can do this for having a more negative evaluation, but being also more realistic. So that one is to interview your friends or interview other people. You ask them, hey, what do you think? And you get this, and try to get as much feedback, and you try to not only get positive feedback, but you elicit negative feedback. You try to really see, tell me honestly, what do you think about me when it comes to all these aspects, health, success, and so on. And as you say, you track, you actually, you write down Specifically, you go to your bank account, you write down how much money do I have today in my bank account? How much assets do I own right now? How much money am I saving? And how much money will I have when I retire in 30 years? Am I happy with that money? Or is there something missing? That's about the financial situation. So the many techniques for different situations.
Hmm. It's interesting because on one hand, it makes a lot of sense to focus on your net worth and know about it and so on. On the other hand, I recently came across a quote that said that life is not about income, it's about impact. So there are some people who have certain mission in life, who have certain
Hmm.
passion, and they don't even pay any attention to most of the things. Like they don't pay attention to their health, to their money, to anything. They're just in flow, chasing some sort of mission that really
Hmm.
inspires them, makes them feel alive, and then everything else kind of falls into place many times. They might
Okay.
live very long lives and so on. So it's interesting how different approaches can also work.
Yeah, but this person, right? This person who is not so much concerned about financial situation, he first of all still has to eat. He still has to live. So there are certain expenses that he does have. So if he doesn't care about that, I would say, look, be more realistic. Also, I would say that the same principle applies to impact. So I would tell him, look, how do you want to produce impact in the world? How are you producing impact right now? Okay, you want to do social media. Okay, how many followers do you have on Instagram, on YouTube, on Facebook? Are
Mhm.
you really producing a lot of impact? Are you really changing people's life? And he's saying, well, right now I don't have it yet, but in the future it's going to come. And then look at the statistics. How many people are trying to be social influencers? Um, and how many people are successful in this? How many people really have 1 million followers? Maybe 1 in 1 million. Why do you think that you're going to be so successful?
Mhm.
And I would tell the same thing. Um, be realistic. It's probably not going to happen. Now, it doesn't mean you can still try for it and still pursue the dream. But not only having the dream, the determination, you also have the realism. And that means that you can pursue the right thing. Because maybe it doesn't make sense. Maybe you should be pursuing something different. And you know the right way to pursue it.
Mhm. Okay. Yeah, it's interesting because sometimes great things happen without planning all of them in advance. So some person is just taking opportunity after opportunity as they come to them, and they make the best out of it, and they end up being Oprah or some famous great person, and they're like, I don't know how I got here because I was just using the opportunities I was given, not planning it, because it's hard for a person now to also see what opportunities or potential they will have in 10 years. Like, we now know our past. We don't necessarily know our full potential, which is kind of unlimited.
Hmm.
So we may change, and then we can reach for more than we see now. So maybe also becoming too pessimistic about it, or like, oh, the odds are so low. If everyone thought that, then no one would become this one guy in 1 million that has 1 million followers, right? So someone had to either not care how many followers they have and just go with the flow, and then ended up having 1 million followers, or some person believed that they can be the one in the million. And
Okay. I mean, I would say that this I would interpret as a little bit of a lack of realism. What I mean is that it's easy for us to think because we hear about opera and we hear about Tim Ferriss and we hear about all the other famous celebrities that have been able to gain 1 million followers. Our view is biased on what's possible or what can realistically be achieved. We because we only hear about them. We don't hear about the 1 million other people that are trying every day to be successful and they're not becoming successful. Be it they are trying very hard to be a sports star and they're almost as good. They're almost as fast running, shooting ability, and so on as Cristiano Ronaldo, but almost. and that makes a difference that they are just totally not successful. The same with singing. They can have a great voice, they great musical talent, but they still are not uh, that successful as, let's say, Beyonce. And that means they are totally unsuccessful, because in today's environment, either you are successful and you reach the audience of the whole world and you can become super duper successful, or if you're a little bit less, you're just nothing. And so, since we hear about these successes and we don't hear about the people that are not successful, our view is biased. And I think, therefore, I would say to everybody, look, if what's realistically possible, and I would say, in most cases, most successes, not talking about, let's say, making a Facebook, making a Google, becoming a sports celebrity, or an actor, but just most of the successes where you have a job, and you kind of move up the career ladder. These are really 99% of the people we're talking about. These are employees. They know what they want to achieve. They kind of do this over time, climbing up the ladder, and they have what most people would call a successful life. Those are the people that are self-employed, they're trying to be successful, or they start a business, that they want to become an actor, sports career. Those people, realistically speaking, are not going to be successful. It's they're not going to be successful, and most likely they're going to be suffering for most of their life because they don't achieve what they are dreaming to achieve. So I would tell them, look, better you kind of be realistic and see what you can do realistically. Good likelihood to become successful. Probably it's going to be a job. Probably you have to do what most 99% of all the people do. Be determined, have your dream, but not an extraordinary dream, just a normal dream, and you're going to be successful. I know that this is not what that Brian Tracy, all these motivational coaches telling you. Yeah, you can do it. You can do it. But it's just they have to say it, because otherwise they don't sell. They don't sell the material, so they have to keep the dream alive of these people that are not facing reality, with reality meaning that it's almost like a lottery ticket to become successful in a lot of these areas. And therefore, it's much easier to just have a normal life and a normal success.
So basically, it would be good to not have expectations, huge expectations on which your happiness depends, right? So you will be satisfied with kind of whatever outcome you can get, but then you will do your best to do what you want, and then you will be satisfied whatever happens.
Hmm.
So I think that's a worthy strategy, because yeah, there's no need to attach yourself to, oh, I'm gonna only be happy if I have a million followers, but let me do what I like, let's say my videos, and let them go as far as they can go or they want to go, and be fine with that, right? So it's about satisfaction. It's like Tony Robbins talks about the science of achievement versus the art of fulfillment. And this is where those two things intersect, I think, where expectations can make you unhappy, or not having expectations can make you appreciate whatever feedback you're given from the situation, from reality.
Okay, I mean, okay, so if, let's say, this person that wants to be a social media influencer, and he currently has 10,000 followers, and he wants to have this a full-time job, and he wants to be um, very popular. I would tell this person, look, you pursuing what you currently do because you have this dream to become very successful in this, and that's fine. This dream makes you have more determination. But I'd also tell him, look, be realistic. The most likely outcome for you is that you are always going to be struggling financially, because doing social media for 99% of people just doesn't pay you enough. I would say the same thing to a musician, the same thing to an app developer, the same thing to most entrepreneurs, same thing to a sports person. I would say, look, in all of those areas, if you are among the top 0.1% or less, you're going to be really successful by traditional standards. You're going to make a lot of money. You're going to have a lot of influence. People are going to know you. Great. But, and that's the dream that you're pursuing. But in all likelihood, it's not going to happen. It's like buying a lottery ticket. So you need to know that maybe you don't want to invest all of your money into a lottery ticket, all of your, and not have anything else. You need to know that most likely the outcome is going to be that you're going to be not going to achieve what you want to achieve. If you say, look, I'm happy anyway, even if I don't achieve my goal, I'm happy anyway. I just want to do this. I want to be an actor, even if I have to live on social benefits. I still want to be an actor, even if I have to live on social benefits. I still want to be playing football. I'd say, all right, if that's what you want to do, then go for it. But in many cases, most people would say, well, thinking about it realistically, if I'm going to be not successful in what I do as a sports celebrity, as a sportsman, a singer, actor, social media person, entrepreneur, I probably would want to go a normal career. And I would say, well, this is probably what you should do, because the odds, if you pursue that dream, is 99.9% against you.
I think also that a lot of people start from a very small scale. So, for example, they would be a musician that plays in some local places and is like locally famous in town or something. But then the dream is to become famous in the region or whatever, and then to become nationally famous and then globally famous. But like it doesn't go from nothing to being Beyonce, it goes from a local level. The same thing with sport people. They start training with the local club, they're the best in the club, then they go to the better club in the bigger city. So there is an evolution to that, and they only aim one level higher at a time, and that allows them to also not be so disappointed because it's potentially achievable for them to go one level up in whatever the career is. And I think that's the organic way to do it. That's how a lot of people do it, actually.
Okay. All right. But at every single point of this journey, the person should ask, and maybe you disagree, but I would say the person should ask himself, what is the realistic likelihood that I'm going to be successful? And where do I stand right now? How successful am I right now? What is my audience? Where, in which league am I playing soccer? How much money am I making? And then compare the current situation with where I want to be, and also compare the past. So the past kind of improvement, because you're saying there's going to be an improvement. So compare the past improvement to where you want to be. And maybe you see that you're currently here in terms of your audience, in terms of your skills, and you want to be here. And maybe you see that over the past, you have been moving up steadily, but very, very slowly. And then I would say, look, it's unlikely you're going to end up here. It's very unlikely. So if you're currently doing the thing that you're doing because you still dream of being here, I would say, look for other opportunities. If you're saying, well, that's where I want to be here, but I love what I do right now, and I would be really happy if I just have the current level of success, even if I don't have any success in terms of money, in terms of followers, in terms of whatever, I'm still extremely happy right now, and I want to continue what I do. I'd say, great. But the reason why we're talking about realism is because I see a lot of people who are currently, let's say, struggling, who currently not liking too much what they're doing, and if they knew they would not be successful by traditional standards in what they're doing, they wouldn't be doing what they're doing, but they still have this dream that someday things are going to be different and they're going to reach here.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd say, look, that's not, it could happen, it can always happen, but probably it's not going to happen. So you might want to think about doing something different.
Mm-hmm. On the other hand, there's no guarantees in something different as well
Of
that they
course.
will be equally successful. So I think it's just important not to have like expectations that are so huge, like everyone will be the celebrity or something like that's BS. But everyone can find something they like doing and they can be better at doing it
Hmm.
gradually, and then maybe they can go as far as they can go, or as far as the opportunities also allow them. A lot of that depends on your environment. Like people who are trying to do their startup in Siberia have different chance compared to people who are doing it in Silicon Valley, for example. So a lot of factors really play a role. And yeah, so the same person who might be very successful in one environment might be not successful in another environment, not their
Hmm.
fault as well. Um, so yeah, I think it's good not to have expectations that are so important to you that you live only in the future, you forget about the present, you don't enjoy the now, you're not focusing on gratitude, for example, but just chasing the celebrity status or something like that's a vanity. I think that's it's not making people as happy as most people think that it is.
Hmm. Okay. All right. So, Sebastian, so far we talked about the importance of realism. We talked about the many situations, many examples of where people are likely going to be suffering because they're not realistic enough and therefore doing things they probably shouldn't be doing or not doing things that they should be doing if they were realistic. And then we talked about ways to gain more realism about your life, about your current situation and your future likely situation. So, do you want to summarize what we talked about?
Well, we talked about assessing your real situation through, for example, tracking and asking friends and
Hmm.
trying to figure out where we really stand rather than delude ourselves that we are better than we are really. And I think one of the
Hmm.
most important things here is to watch our expectations and not to get attached to some random vision of the future and like suffer now and just to be happy in the future when you are the celebrity or something. Like you can totally enjoy life all the way from here to wherever you can go. And wherever you can go is fine. Like everyone has some way, and sometimes it matters more not where you ended up, but what progress you made. Because some people come from, I don't know, a broken home, they have all kinds of issues, and they become normal citizens. And that's the biggest success that there is. Because so the bar of success might be different for everyone, and we don't need to compare ourselves to others.
Okay, all right. But now, this what you're saying is, I would say, it's a different recommendation to what I would give. So we have a person who is a singer, and he participates in this The Voice, this TV competition, and a lot of people think he's doing a really good job, has a lot of talent, but he doesn't win, and he's thinking about pursuing his career or just, um, finishing his college and then getting a normal job. What he really likes doing is singing. However, uh, uh, the chances that he's going to be successful are very slim. What would you recommend him? And what I would recommend him is probably different. I would recommend him, look, let's do an analysis of your chances of being what you want to be. Okay, that's probably not going to happen. So the reality that you would have in the future, if you focus only on singing, is that probably going to be barely able to get a living out of that profession, singing. Probably have to take on another job. Probably always going to be struggling financially. Do you are you okay with that or not? And if he's telling me, yeah, I don't care about this, even if I'm struggling financially, this is what I want to do. I only care about singing. Let's say, all right, then you can go ahead. But if he's telling me, well, I don't think so. I want to be successful, and I know that if I have this dream and have determination, I'm going to be successful. I would tell him, maybe don't go ahead, don't do it. Try to do something in parallel because the chances are it's probably not going to work out.
Hmm.
Now, what you would recommend him is probably a little bit different, right? It seems like you would recommend him, well, go for it. And if it doesn't work out, don't be sad, because life is not only about financial success, it's about many other things. And if you, as long as you follow your passion, you can be happy.
Well,
That's kind of,
I'm looking at it also from the side of the regret. Let's say he becomes an accountant instead, and then he's one of those bitter accountants, at 45, always thinking that he should have done something else and that he would definitely be successful. Because if he gives it up like this, then his fantasy will be very alive, and he will be like, if I only like made the different choice, I would be now singing on TV, and now I'm doing the accounting that I hate. I think it's really important in life to spend most of your time doing things that you actually love doing, and making money doing that somehow. And you don't need to have like crazy amounts of money, but it's important that you do what gives you satisfaction, because that's the majority of your time. So what's the point of not doing that? So, and there's such a choice in life of what you can do in different countries and online, offline, whatever. So
mm,
I think everyone can find their own niche and do something that they enjoy and make enough money for them to be alive. So finding that, I think, is important.